Many South Africans struggle to reach their workplaces using cars or public transport on congested roads and highways. And they may find it hard to believe that an e-mobility revolution is imminent. E-mobility refers to electric vehicles, ideally powered by renewable energy sources, which may range from 2- and 3-wheeled vehicles to cars and even buses. The fast-evolving sector presents a significant opportunity for sustainable growth and job creation in Africa, but of course some constraints need to be overcome. Yael Shafrir, an Associate Director at Webber Wentzel, joins us now for more. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on Newsnight. Now, because our rail network is all but defunct, we rely very heavily on the automotive sector and the transport and logistics value chains for not only public transport but for also distribution of consumer goods. What kind of impact do you think widespread availability and adoption of e-mobility vehicles will have on our socio-economic structures?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's going to be transformative, but I think we need to be realistic, as you said in the beginning, is that we do have our electricity is constrained. So the first and foremost opportunity for South Africa is to play a role in the manufacturing sector. South Africa is one of the most mature automotive sectors. And for us to really play a transformative role, we need to play a role in the manufacture or the value chain of electric vehicles. So we're talking about lithium batteries and the like, and processing of critical minerals for electric vehicles.
So barring the constraints of our electricity crisis, which is no doubt not going to be resolved anytime soon, what progress has been made towards that? I mean, we've seen the recent publication of the South African Renewable Energy Master Plan. Does that move us a step closer?
Absolutely. Although you're absolutely right to say a lot more needs to be done. If we're looking at countries like Kenya, they've actually put an e-mobility task force in place. If we look at countries like Rwanda, they've specific incentives to promote the importation and manufacture of electric vehicles. We have a lot that stands in our favor. As I said, we have a mature automotive sector. We have special economic zones. Our infrastructure is a lot more evolved than many other African countries. We also have universities and the skills and the talent. But we do need to build a more conducive environment for the manufacturing and investment. And we also need to have a policy environment that is conducive for this kind of investment.
So investment being a key part of this revolution, because we're not going to be able to drive it on our own. What does investment look like in the rest of Africa? You've given a couple of examples of countries getting it right. But in terms of monetary value to the investment, how do we compare?
So investment is absolutely the opportunity. I mean, we know, because we have clients looking in the space, that there are players looking to set up lithium battery cell factories. There is at the moment a lithium battery cell factory project that's being worked on between DRC and Zambia that is being backed by Bank. I mean, the numbers are huge. We're talking about billions of dollars. So the number one is we need to create financing for these kinds of opportunities. But in terms of the impact, it's absolutely transformative. If we were able to host a lithium battery cell factory in South Africa, we would be creating 10,000s of jobs. We would be transforming municipalities. We would be creating skills transfer to youth. So the opportunity is immense, and we need to make sure we can play a part in this revolution.
So we're seeing an incredible uptake due to the energy crisis in the application of alternative energy solutions. Are we moving at a fast enough pace to integrate e-mobility into the solutions that are already available in South Africa and sort of make that part of a broader energy revolution?
Yes, that's an interesting question. Look, we do have, and we've seen the growth in battery assembly manufacture, and we've seen the importation of battery cells grow tremendously. And obviously we will need batteries to integrate into full mobility. We've also seen, and having spoken to stakeholders, that there is interest, in green minibuses, green buses. So there's not enough being said about what is actually happening. We've also seen, BMW announce, for instance, that they're going to start manufacturing hybrids from next year. So, there's a lot more happening than what meets the eye. But as I said earlier, for us to have a true revolution, we really need to play a key part in the manufacturing and in the value chain, and particularly with the opportunity presented by the African Continental Free Trade Area, which will enable us to then export duty-free to the rest of the continent, and through AGOA, which will enable us to export into the US market, and through our agreement, EPA, with Europe, European Partnership Agreement, because we need to acknowledge that we are not going to transition, as you said, at the same rate as the rest of the world. So the first opportunity for us is export and industrialization and job creation. So the quicker we can start building these manufacturing facilities and create these export opportunities, the quicker we can create jobs and development, sustainable development.
Earlier, you mentioned a conducive policy environment, and of course, this kind of revolution would require an intricate network of legislative framework to make that possible and to regulate every aspect of that, especially, if public transport comes into it. Are we making progress in putting that framework in place ahead of this revolution to make sure we're ready for it?
As I said to you, I think we are lagging behind in terms of policy, because we've recently had the Africa Climate Summit take place in Kenya. And I think it's very much broadly spoken that Kenya is moving very fast in terms of having an e-mobility task force. And similarly, we've seen countries like Rwanda who have moved very fast in terms of having incentives in place. We need to be moving faster. We need to create financing opportunities. We need to have a lot more green energy funds. And we need to fund this kind of innovation and entrepreneurship. A very good parallel for me has been, when we moved into mobile telephony. And it was very hard for us to believe that people who didn't have fixed telephony would leapfrog into mobile telephony. We're sitting in the same place where we need to leapfrog into electric vehicles when many people don't even have access to internal combustion engine vehicles. For that to happen, there needs to be huge political will at all levels. There needs to be a conducive policy environment. And definitely there needs to be access to finance for innovation. And maybe to close off and say, necessity is the mother of invention. I think the opportunity is very much here for us to make an impact.
And of course, this should mean great things for our country's carbon reduction commitments under the Paris Agreement.
Absolutely. And this is where it's a triple win situation. We meet our climate commitments, we create sustainable development and jobs and skills transfer. It's a no-brainer.
So we look forward to seeing that revolution materialize and to living in the future. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. That was Yael Shafrir, Associate Director at Webber Wentzel.